Hello, everybody.
Hi.
How are you?
Hello.
We're here to talk about stuff, and you're going to listen.
Yeah. So did you happen to watch those two interview links I sent you?
Yes.
You did? Yeah.
Great.
Why did I say hi so much faster than you guys?
There's little things that they mention in those interviews that they're not entirely spoilery, but kind of just exciting to hear them talking about the character motivations and
Right.
stuff.
That's all it is kind of, he did the same thing, the thing where he was just letting you know where Superman is at the start of the movie. Like, here's where the character is in headspace, which is good. It's not spoilery. It's just kind of letting you know what chapter you're starting at. So yeah, hearing more about Lex and what's his deal is great. I just, they have done a good job of just like giving us some stuff, but it's just not enough. I'm waiting for the movie to start because we've only been teased with similar bits, and I've now heard Lex speak.
He's back.
Great actor anyway. I'm very excited, but I want to know more. I want to hear dialogue, and it is killing me that we haven't heard Lois yet.
Yeah, I know. Well, one of the things that they say in these interviews, which I thought was really interesting, and all of this sounds like just spot on, like what we want from the characters.
Yeah.
Rachel, in one of those interviews, goes into great detail. Well, not tremendous detail, but
yeah, I know. The cautious detail
about the relationship between her and Superman. I think the thing that she was uncomfortable, she wasn't sure if she was allowed to say is like, oh, we're in a relationship already?
Right.
Well, you can kind of see it in the trailer that there's something going on.
Unless it sparks really fast in the movie, it seems to be already established.
Yeah, exactly. So, because what we didn't know from the first trailer was like, are they already together? Does she already know that Clark is Superman?
Right. Is she in a relationship with Clark, or is she in a relationship with Superman?
That one scene in the Daily Planet kind of made it seem like maybe not, but now it seems like I think they are. I think they've been together for a while already, and she already knows.
Yeah.
So they're just playing this game of like pretending to not, be in a relationship at work.
Again, we're coming in not at the beginning, which I think it's refreshing. And I'm sure James Gunn would have kicked the ass out of a Superman. Sorry, that sounds terrible. Out of a Superman origin story.
Yeah.
But we've had endless Superman origin stories.
Who am I?
Your name is Kal-El.
Who?
That's my name. Kal-El.
But we all know. We all know the stuff we want to keep from it, and it can be very personal. Like, some people are like, no, gotta have the sacrifice of a Pa Kent. And some people are like, I think it'd be cool if he lived. It'd be cool if he was still around. I still would love to hear a little bit of dialogue from that Pa Kent scene, which we've seen on all the teasers.
True. Yeah.
But yes, I do like the idea of, and maybe this will bleed out into the rest of the superhero world, where it's like, maybe you don't always have to just slavishly hit the origin, right. Especially with the really established characters. If it is someone like Blue Beetle, I thought was a really good job pre-Gunn coming in of doing like the established, we got to tell you who he is because you don't know him. But yeah, if it's Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, we don't need to see the Waynes get shot again. We don't need to see, Diana saying, I will go to man's world and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I like it.
And I think we've gotten a little taste of this in that teaser already, that I suspect that James is going to be weaving threads of an origin into the story here and there. Because we hear, like we said, we suspect that we're hearing Lara and Jor-El, their voices echoing through the chambers of the fortress when he's dragged in.
Hey, Colonel.
And you hypothesize that maybe that's just an automatic thing that happens whenever
an automatic reading.
BobaTalks, who's another channel that I watch, had a really cool theory that I really like, referring to the Kryptonian voices that we hear. His theory was that maybe, and I think this is, I don't know if he's basing this on anything he's heard, but he's like, what if in this iteration of the story, instead of having, because every version of the story we've seen so far in live action, Jor-El and sometimes Lara exist in these holographic AI representations of themselves, including Superman and Lois.
Superman and Lois,
but Boba says in this one, like, what if in this iteration, those voices, that recording of his parents is the only thing that survived of them, like because of something that, who knows, maybe there's some records that got destroyed. So that's all he has. So he has it triggered, that recording to trigger a play whenever he enters the door.
That's kind of cool, crazy
kind
theory.
Of make him feel, because it means a lot to him. And this goes into something that David Corenswet said in one of these videos I sent you. He was talking about what he had to do to go through working out working out to train for the role. But he said it not only prepared him physically, but it also prepared him mentally for the role, because he spent, while he was training, he wasn't always with his personal trainer. He would spend several hours a day training by himself frequently. And for him, that was like mental preparation for the character of Superman, who he thinks of as being, as he put it, the solemn loneliness about him, because he really wants to be part of humanity, but he never really will fully be a human, basically.
It's an interesting take, and it's one that some people, and including Snyder, really love focusing on. For all of the growing up on a Kansas farm, he's still an alien.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, if you don't lean on it too hard and make him like some sulky loner kid, and it's a little much. He had loving parents, it's like, but yes, here, for all of his, I feel human. I feel like I am a Kent, and I grew up on a farm in Kansas, and I live in America. There is a part of him that no one will ever be able to touch, even Lois, even Mom and Pa Kent, because they can't experience that two culture brain. That's the interesting thing. You can be of two cultures, and that's an experience that's going to be totally. I love the idea of a fortress of solitude, which, they stole that from Doc Savage, but at the same time, it's a great name for it too, because he's got responsibilities we can never understand. He's got a background we can't understand. So part of him is always going to be lonely. And the fact that Corenswet understands that, he's like going, he's a man unto himself. And also, as we've talked about, constantly keeping himself in check.
Yeah.
In order to be one of us, he's not lording his powers. He could go all day, all night. He could take over the world and say, no, you guys stop warring. I'm going to be the guy who shepherds all of mankind into a new age. But no, he's like, I have to slow down to be at their pace and be recognizable and relatable. And just like with the shorts that he fought for, it's like, even the shorts are just like my way of going, I'm wearing a goofy costume, but it's for you. It's like, you can, I'm your pal. I'm Superman.
Exactly. Yeah. And by the way, Brenda's referring to, David said in an interview that he talked James into the,
he talked him into it.
The idea was to make him seem more relatable and less, I guess, intimidating, I guess.
Yeah. I think Superman knows in this take that he's wearing a goofy suit. I think, or at least he knows it's blue, red, and yellow. It is the brightest primary colors. And I think it is all just meant to be, don't be intimidated. I'm your pal. I'm here for you. I like the fact that I don't know how much thought was put into this. I'm sure quite a bit. But the JLA, unlike in the comics, in the JLA, you're on this group. You all wear your costumes that you've always worn. But in this take, it's Maxwell Lord's Justice League. And I think that's why we have a Green Lantern who's in the white and black, just like Hawkgirl. Just, it's like they are subsidized corporate heroes.
Right.
And so they have uniforms that are kind of homogenous. And that's kind of great. Of course, he's going to pop. Also, when he's standing next to those guys, they may go, well, we'll fight together, but he's not in the Justice League, clearly. Or Maxwell Lord would have said, no, you need to change that to white and black.
Yeah, you need to put my logo on your chest or whatever.
Yeah. I love that he's going to possibly change everything.
Yeah, and that they may not be the JLA, but maybe the JLI, right? Justice League International, I think.
Oh, well, I mean, that would be in keeping with the 80s and Maxwell Lord.
What I'm hoping is, because we saw they went and shot footage at the building, I forget what it's called, the model of the Justice League building.
Of the Hall of Justice from Super Friends.
That appears in Super Friends. Yeah, that's going to be in the movie at some point.
God, what if they use that theme?
I know. I'm hoping that we'll actually see the beginnings of the JLA in this movie.
Yes, it'd be great if one of the plots, because I'm sure it has a lot of them. It wouldn't be awesome if it is sort of like, but grouping together is still a great idea.
Right.
Let's just get rid of the Maxwell Lord influence and keep doing this, and we'll all wear our own costumes and whatever. I also love the fact that Fillion was officially...
Yeah, he's going to be on...
He's officially
Lanterns,
assigned to Lanterns. So that's awesome. He's going to be in that bold cut forever.
Whether he likes it or not. BobaTalks, I think he coined the term the reverse Kingdom Come theory for this movie.
Oh.
I think that started just based on when we first saw the crest.
Right.
It's like, maybe and what they said about kindness in a world where kindness has become old fashioned.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe this is similar storyline as Kingdom Come,
but moved very far into his early days.
Yeah. So it's not like the world's not completely falling apart, really. But
we had guessed at something like that too, simply because since he's populating this world full of heroes who apparently have been around longer, and the Justice League has been around for a while, that what would make Superman unique in this story and why it would be a Superman story is just he is the one that is the true altruist, that the rest who are somewhat jaded or cynical are like, Jesus, you can't be real. It's like you just go out there and you knock them down and you lock them up. That's what you do. It's our job. And you got to have a guy and go, well, maybe you help people. Maybe you provide a symbol of hope.
This actually, we've heard enough about what this plot is going to be to I think that's correct. The theory is correct that is what's going on. Not only that, not only are the heroes in a kind of a cynical state and kind of view Superman like as if he's naive and like too nice. Right. Lois kind of from what we've heard in that interview, Lois kind of thinks the same thing about him too, because she's a more cynical, pragmatic person.
She's a pragmatic realist. She is. And I will say it's a broad brush, but so many journalists, since their whole job is trying to get to truth, and in this world that we live in, which will just be a mirror reflection in a superhero movie, but at the same time, how could you not be a cynic? A cynic would probably be putting a very nice point on it, because if you're not a nihilist when you are a truth seeker, especially now, then what are you even doing? I could see that he's going to be a symbol of hope for her too. Probably one of the biggest obstacles for her as a character to get to a place where she could love Superman is first trusting that he's legit, that it's not a show. It's like, okay, yeah, you say all the right things, but come on, it's kind of a power trip. It's like, no, it's not. I want to, that would be hard for someone that flinty to actually take at face value and then go, oh my God, you're the real deal. I mean, even Margot Kidder a little bit is in there. And I love that because she's, of course she's starstruck by him, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but what are you getting out of it? That whole thing.
Why are you?
I'm sorry?
I mean, why are you here?
So I love that. That's always one of the reasons why when people go, isn't Lois a boring character? Can't we move past, the female reporter trope? And I'm like, if you don't understand what she represents in contrast and in complement to his character, you don't get Superman.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
It's like they've been smart all along. They waited a million years for them to actually find out. She finds out the secret. They get married. All that's good. Now they're parents. But to get the idea that they've never killed her off, I'm like, that means they know. You kind of want to have that locked in supporting cast that doesn't take away drama. You can still do terrible things to Jimmy or whatever, but you realize that they matter.
You're going to end up fighting every elected official in this country.
Sure you don't really mean that, Lois.
And so, in other words, that's a long way of saying, yes, they understand her importance. Gunn understands her importance. And clearly, if you cast someone of that amazing talent of Rachel Brosnahan, you're like, you realize how much weight is going to be thrown to, she's kind of the eyes of the world looking at that person too. Like, I really want to believe that you're who you are.
Yeah.
It's just a big jump for us to accept that you are that good.
I don't believe this.
Lois? I never lie.
Yeah, one of the it just made me think of something. That theory about from BobaTalks about the Jor-El and Lara possibly being the only thing he has of his parents.
Yeah,
that would kind of say a little bit more about these Superman robots, which are very heavily based, of course, on the robots that we see in All-Star Superman.
Yeah, they're almost totalists from All-Star Superman.
Yeah, except for the fact that they've got numbers in their crests instead of just in the comic. Anyway, in the comic, the actual comic, they're just the Superman S on the front end of their capes.
Yes, that's right.
In the animated version, they have numbers. I just
and it does throw back to the as I brought up the old Superman robots, which were
of course
robot duplicates, but they also had numbers.
As we see in this trailer, there's a difference, at least between the two that have the most dialogue.
Mhm.
Four does most of the talking in this bit that we see, but we're also introduced to 12, who is new and is also more emotional, more openly emotional than any of the other robots, as far as we're able to tell.
Seemingly,
And
yeah.
And it makes me wonder if Superman, we said, well, obviously these are robots that were built by Superman himself. And I'm talking about this aspect of his loneliness and this solitary nature that he lives, that he lives there, I wonder if, like, starting with 1 up through 4 and then through 12, that there's been this progression of more advanced emotions and more human
Yeah,
relatability.
possibly.
Because you see that he still says thank you to 4, even though he knows that 4 is going to always say, you don't have to thank us, sir. But 12, when he smiles at her, he smiles at her in a way, not just because she's new, I think, anyway, that he's like, he knows that she's the newest creation, possibly. And she giggles she gets excited meeting him for the first time.
It's so weirdly cute. I mean,
Yeah.
and I love that part. Yeah.
And that makes me wonder if this is something like an ongoing experiment that he's had, that he's trying to create AI that is near
Interesting.
human. Somebody in the comments mentioned, I should have written his name down, wondered if this was a Brainiac connection here with between the AI that he's creating. I kind of hope not.
That's a speculative thing.
It is. It would. That's not a bad theory. I kind of hope that we're going to get the Brainiac who shrinks cities and is the collector of worlds.
Here's the thing. What if they go Superman 78? And what if Jor-El and Lara are actually alive and inside the bottle city of Kandor?
That would be amazing.
I mean, okay. I'm not bloodthirsty. I always say that I love the idea of one set of parents die and the other set raised him. I never want to diminish what Jor-El and Lara meant, but I think the whole Krypton story is a warning, and I think it has to have weight, and that's very Shakespearean. So them being alive, while it's like they did it really well in Superman 78, and it's like, I'd like to introduce you to my parents. It's like he brings Lois in, and he's like, no, they're down there. I mean, I want a Kandor in this fortress. I want James Gunn to give us full on Kandor. But if they're actually alive, it's just, that's interesting story material. It could be great.
Absolutely. When I asked that in a poll today, because I was thinking about this to see what people think, it's like, what do you think the chances are we're going to see Kandor in this movie? And the options I put for the poll were possibly, no way, and yes. And mostly, when last I checked the poll, it's mostly possibly. So, and I kind of think I do want to see Kandor. I do want to see the Bottled City of Kandor for sure.
Yeah, it's too
I think
good.
maybe it's too soon for this movie, because talking about his solemnity. What's the word? Solemnity. Yeah. We already know that that Supergirl's coming. He's going to have his cousin. Yep. It seemed like it would be too much to just introduce, like, oh, he's lonely, but there's a whole city of Kryptonians.
You could. Well, as we also talked about, Warner Brothers is in trouble, and if this movie doesn't do good, then possibly, Supergirl, who knows?
It's already entered production.
Regardless, let's say that the next Superman movie, as long as we're speculating, Chad and I are just speculating, folks, and it's just us nerding. We have no idea what this movie's going to have in it or not. And there are some secrets they've kept. Apparently, there's a huge cameo that hasn't been leaked at all, but people are saying, guys, there's something that's going to blow you away. I'm like, I can't wait.
I think it's Batman.
Do you think it's Batman?
I do.
Do you think it will be Robert Pattinson?
No.
Could be Batman, but I've also speculated myself that it could literally be like an end of movie Brainiac show up. Like,
yeah, that would be awesome.
Thing.
Yeah.
Like a Thanos at the end of Avengers, where it's like, I will get them.
Because the whole about the Kandor thing, that could be a whole movie, like explaining
That's what I'm saying.
Encountering Brainiac, saving Kandor, meeting his parents.
Could be that.
Possibly.
Brainiac, and then he discovers that an entire city full of Kryptonians is on Brainiac's ship, and he's like, guys, I'm taking you to my house, and like, don't worry, I'm with you.
Because that would be amazing if that was the case, as this Boba fella was theorizing. What if this is all he has of his parents? So in the second or third movie, he actually suddenly, maybe after he's rescued Kandor, suddenly he discovers, wait a minute, my parents are in here, and it would be this major climactic moment.
Knowing the way James Gunn's mind works, and he may not write or direct the second Superman movie.
True.
I don't know what he'll do. He might hand it off. But can you picture a more James Gunn-like sequence than Clark bringing his Kryptonian parents to meet Pa Kent, and then it's like, I made you barbecue, and then the Kryptonians are sitting down. I mean, that is a very James Gunn scene where you had these alien guys and the two awkward sets of parents kind of like going,
yeah.
So, what was he like as a teenager? You know, and then he's like going, you should try the coleslaw. I made it myself. I could see it happening. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, because you've already set up. There's already this really eerie, magical quality of hearing. You can't really hear Lara's voice very clearly. If
it is.
We're assuming, but hearing
does.
Jor-El's voice is like, this is such a wonderful, eerie thing.
We're only hearing that little bit, and
Yeah.
the robots are talking on top of it. But under there, you are hearing someone refer to him as Kal-El, but you're hearing other Kryptonian stuff, and there's another voice there, and we don't understand Kryptonian. Wait,
no.
You don't.
Did you notice that he kind of rolls the L's when he's saying Kal-El? And that's
there's a weirdness to it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that makes it more alien to me.
Yeah.
Hearing it, I love it. So that's why I'm so fascinated about this part.
Well,
of it,
I don't think in any version has there been a version where
they speak
where they speak. Did they in Man of Steel?
New Adventures of Superman, or not New Adventures, My Adventures of Superman, the cartoon.
Oh yes.
When Jor-El first shows up, he's speaking Kryptonian,
and in Byrne's comic, which of course is comics, but they've developed a visual language. There is actually a Kryptonian written visual language, because before that, you know, in the Silver Age and Golden Age, it was another planet, but they looked like Flash Gordon and they were talking English.
So it's funny that the thing with Jor-El and Lara speaking Kryptonian, assuming that's who they are, we don't know, but
that's true.
It speaks back to like, as you said, it's maybe the first time we've seen in live action anyway.
Yeah,
the Jor-El and Lara speaking, you know, there actually is a Kryptonian language, not just English, and we don't think about it. That is, as much as we love the first movies, that is something that was an old sci-fi movie trope that was carried over. It's just like, well, everybody just speaks English. Don't worry about it.
It's a trope in movies, period, because literally how many World War II movies do you have where the Germans are just speaking, but they all have British accents? Yes. Because that sets them apart. They're not speaking German. It's just like, we will find the Americans and we will destroy them. And you're like, yeah, why are you speaking German accented English or British accent? Are you Germans or what? Why isn't there some subtitles? I can handle reading. Yeah. I got through college.
That's one of the reasons I love, one of the things that makes the Indiana Jones movie so good is that they didn't do that. I mean,
they only speak English if they're talking to someone who speaks English.
Exactly. Yeah. So Lex, in that one of those interviews, they finally
ask, are we going to see the barn burning down and Superboy blowing the fire out and you losing your hair?
But Nicholas Hoult says, he starts off saying that, you know, Lex is, because they're all the actors being very careful about what they reveal, while James is like, no, we can talk about this now.
Yeah, it is a thing of them looking to him like, is that okay if I mention this?
And James is so excited to talk about it. I was like, no, we can talk about this now. Come on, relax. But
come on, relax, man.
Right.
It's only
he's essentially saying that. He's like, because he goes into detail. This is what this experience is like for them. They don't really know. And then I say it, and then they can say whatever. But Nicholas Hoult says something like, Lex is very single-minded in his pursuit, and that's really all he cares about. James adds to that and much more detail. It's science. Science is what Lex cares about. And he will do anything to achieve his goals and pursuing the scientific answers he's looking for. And it doesn't matter who dies as he's on his way to his answer.
Yeah.
He's not, it's no longer real estate. It's finally going to be not mad scientist Lex, but I think very unethical scientist Lex.
It's a combo, which even Byrne, who was the first guy to turn him into, it was the 80s, and making the bad guy a corporate, megalomaniac is good. But even Byrne eventually was like, you can't take super science out of it.
Yeah.
What he would do is, like in the earliest Byrne issues, where this is my take on Bizarro, you have his scientists are working on this clone of Superman, but he comes down and he understands all that stuff perfectly. And he's like, show me this. And he's like, yeah, but you made a mistake here. So it's like, you got to include that. It can't just be him like doing hostile takeovers and buying up whatever, blah, blah, blah. This is kind of the same thing, but I like the focus being that, yes, it's science, And that also ties in with it should be us. It should be Earthmen. This is our planet. So any advances, which I want to make because my ego is huge, but it should not be belittled because an alien who he probably also hates Green Lantern. Or of course, if Hawk Girl is, or, true to comics, she's also an alien.
Her wings are organic, by the way.
The wings
James
are
Gunn
organic.
did confirm they're organic wings. So.
Well, but that's weird because they weren't organic in the comics. I mean, they are feathered, but they're still a harness they take off. It's like...
Of the Thanagarians?
Yeah, the Thanagarians don't have wings. They put them on.
Oh,
but they are modeled on...
He's probably changed. He's probably changed the Thanagarians.
We're going to have a talk. There better be some nth metal. I'm a nerd. Anyway, so... but yes, that fits perfectly, and it is still an ego thing. So it's a combination of grossly advanced intellect and a huge ego to go along with it. And how dare this altruistic alien come in and be worshipped as the nicest, coolest guy ever, when I'm the guy who's making... Because he's got these buildings. He's clearly monetized his genius. So it is that combination. So... And as we saw, his logo is on that TV that they're watching stuff on. So he's a household name. I love it. I will always love that subterranean subway hideout of Lex Luthor in 78 Superman, because it's badass. Actually, it's pretty cool. But I do like the change they made, that he's not known as a super villain. It's not till he starts going after Superman that he's exposed as being... Oh, he's a bad dude. I always just thought he was the guy who came up with that watch that I bought.
Yeah, yeah.
So Steve Jobs becoming a supervillain. I like it.
Essentially, yeah.
I mean, it's good. I just want him to hate Superman with all of his fiber, and Superman be the only person that gets under his skin. I bet even Maxwell Lord doesn't get under Luthor's skin. It's just got to be Superman. Like, how dare he be that guy?
Right.
Oh, I love it.
And I'm sure it's going to come into like, I had to work. I worked skin and bone to achieve this. And
you show up and you just have powers.
Yeah.
You just show up and you're God. Fuck you, dude. I had to work for all this. And who knows? Second movie, maybe he's in a battle suit. Second movie, maybe he and Brainiac team up.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Do you think we're going to get...
This is literally us just going like, all the things I love about Superman comics, can we just shove them into the second movie? Can we have Brainiac and Kandor and a Battlesuit Luthor? By the way, Battlesuit Luthor going to be my next band.
Okay. Battlesuit Luthor, that's not bad, actually. Do you think we're going to get in this? Probably not in this movie, but at some point, this actually was going to be... It was a thread of Mary Puzo's script for Superman that by the end of the movie... or the end of the second movie. I guess it was at the end of the second movie because it was always going to be two movies.
Yeah.
Luthor and Superman team up against the Kryptonians. Like Luthor aids Superman in defeating them.
That's also happened in the comics. There's always been a tradition of, oh shit, Luthor realizes I need to actually fight the guy I thought I was teamed up with, and I'm going to have to team up with Superman. The reluctant Luthor Superman team ups, there have been many in the comics. I love it. It's always good.
Because I kind of wonder if you're using, because he's not taking verbatim the story from All Star Superman for this movie, but he's borrowing a lot of inspiration from it. One of the things that happens in that story is that Luthor kind of is through something that Superman does, is able to see the world through his eyes essentially, and it moves him.
Yeah,
it makes me wonder if this Lex, through multiple movies, is he going to be on an eventual redemption arc?
If they pulled the character through all the movies, I would love it if he is always a thread, even if he's not the main guy, because I like that would be very far-sighted, as in, let's create an arc where over the course of movies, even if he's not the main storyline, we see him react to stuff that happened to Superman or that Superman does or the other villains. And yeah, maybe like a fourth movie or something, or fifth movie.
Yeah.
I'm just dreaming of a world where we get all this. But it would be great where he's like going, I mean, if you're doing something along the lines of what Marvel Cinematic Universe did, and you build to something like Endgame or Infinity War, and by that point we have an established Batman and Wonder Woman, a Justice League, and then there's something like a Dark Side shows up. I always like that thing is bigger than all of us. So we all have to do what we can, because I hate you, but we share this planet, and that thing is going to destroy the whole planet, which means me too. And I always love that.
I will say that does have the notion of having Lex on a long redemption arc does seem like a very James Gunn thing to do.
Oh yeah.
I'm just thinking, and this is not a real direct parallel, but what was the character Michael Rooker played in Guardians?
Oh yeah, Yondu.
Yondu is introduced in the first movie as sort of like a secondary antagonist. You know, he's the guy that we know that Star-Lord grew up with, but he's also kind of a dick, and we're led to believe that he's abused him, and we find out later that's not true.
Yeah, and also the thing is like I had to keep them from eating you, boy.
Right, and then in the next movie, he turns out that we learn gradually through the movie that
he did not want to give him over to Ego.
He's been protecting him this whole time, and then he sacrifices himself to save him.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful arc for that character. I'm just kind of wondering. I don't know. I don't want Lex to become this cuddly guy.
No, I do not.
But to have him say what you were saying, like we're going to have to stand together to defeat this thing. Yeah. And maybe I've made some mistakes, in the past. Yeah. But because that's kind of what happens in All-Star. He doesn't really go fully good, but he's like, I have some things to think about, type of thing.
Yeah, there are some classic comic villains where you sit there going like, I don't want them to ever be redeemed.
Yeah.
Joker's one of them. I mean, they've given him moments where he had a moment of clarity or something where someone forced him to look at what he's done and take the madness away just so long enough for him to go, oh my God, my God. But then of course it snaps back. There's some I don't ever want. Red Skull. You can't do much with him going, maybe Hitler was a bad guy. I've been thinking about it. Not a nice fella. I don't want that. But right. There's some like Luthor or even Dr. Doom where you can see in their psyche there is something that wants to actually improve life for people, but they also want the praise or they want the power. It's complicated. Some of them can be redeemed, and Luthor is definitely one of those guys. And it would be interesting if they went that way. And I gotta say that the only problem with the live action movies is, unlike comics, comics essentially come out once a month. And with these movies, that's what's so hard to plot, because we don't get good arcs because we have to jump like major story event to major story event because that's what you want in a movie. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's done very successfully. Again, the Captain America ones, they're all different movies, but in a weird way, they're showing, and of course, Iron Man had the biggest arc of all the Marvel cinematic characters, but he also had the most appearances. He also has like little side appearances in Captain America, like Civil War, and all that stuff, where he gets the benefit of enough appearances to where it feels like, man, they really fleshed him out. And by the end, he's gone on a journey. But most of these people will be like, I was Hawk Girl for 2 movies, and you're like going, didn't get much of an arc. First, I was angry Hawk Girl. Then I was not as angry Hawk Girl.
And the benefit that DC has, if they're able to survive this financial crisis they're in right now, if they're able to if this movie lifts them out of it,
get some series.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's any license impediments with DC the way there is with Marvel, because Marvel can't use Spider-Man on TV. Yeah. Kingpin can't be in movies, that type of thing. So, but DC doesn't have any of those encumbrance as far as
as far
as I'm aware.
No,
so
absolutely.
Superman could be on Max. He could show up on Lanterns. All this. So there could be all these threads running constantly. I don't know if that's the plan, but it would make sense if it is.
Yeah.
So hopefully, like you say, the characters will have time and room to breathe across multiple projects.
It's just because live action is a different beast, and therefore you don't have as much room to build. You certainly do in a series. We were talking about, the difference between, say, like the Daredevil TV series or the Spider-Man films, and you sit there going like, Tom Holland has been a great Spider-Man, and I look forward to where they're taking him, but that's still Sony owned, and we're still going to get a movie every 2 or 3 years, maybe, hopefully. But again, how much time have we gotten to spend with Peter Parker outside of these major events in his life that we see as a 2-hour movie? Meanwhile, Daredevil has had so many episodes, like multiple movies. And because, of course, you've got good writers, you've got an amazing actor playing them, man, we know some Matt Murdock. And we're watching now, and I know there are people complaining, but we're watching entire episodes where he's not in suit and he's in the court. And I'm like going, I love it. I want to hang out with Matt Murdock in court. I want to see him getting down with ladies in the shower. And he's doing that. But I mean, please don't let that become a quote I'm known for. But the whole thing is that we have spent enough time with him to where it's not just like, I just want you with the horns on your head, beating people to a bloody
Yeah.
And we've gotten so much, we've been treated very well that way. And I hope Gunn is able to do the same thing. Certainly looking forward to Peacemaker season 2. I am. But I kind of like, you've got the whole mishmash to work with now. You've got
I've got something to say. I just reminded me of something. I forget where this came from, if it was said in an interview or if it was something that was revealed at CinemaCon, but apparently there's a 10 or 12 minute long conversational scene between Lois and Superman in this movie.
Oh.
And I don't know, somebody else pointed out, we don't know if that's continuous or if it's like interjected throughout the film or something. But I love to hear that, because that means we're going to get a lot of time with the characters being them,
which is
just being
want.
characters. Yeah.
That's the thing, is that you're not going to please everybody. And there are some people that are just going to want him to show up and punch through things and fly. And I want to see all that. I want to see some heat vision. Dude, I get no heat vision. I'm walking. No. But I want to see why he and Jimmy are pals. Yes. I want to see Lois and Perry. I love the world of Superman. I love the world of Superman. When I was in art school, I wanted to pitch to DC a comic. The whole thing would just be every issue was a day in the life of them without the costumes. And it would bounce. Like, we would spend a whole day with Hal Jordan. And Hal Jordan hanging out with Carol Ferris. And, because I think their private lives, because these characters have been around so long, can be just as interesting. It's like, I always loved it in Batman comics when Lucius Fox would force him to come into like a Wayne Foundation board meeting. And he's literally sitting there trying to get out of it because he knows that Ra's al Ghul is about to do something. And he's kind of like going, what you guys are talking about sounds good, but I don't have a brain for this. I'm a playboy. I would love that shit where he's just like trying to get out of being a corporate owner guy. And, Barry Allen in the police lab. Getting all that shit. Yeah. I love every bit of it. I love the side characters and subplots and shit like that.
Veering back to what the Peacemaker
How dare you
reminded me of. And I don't know where this came from, but somewhere, I guess at CinemaCon, James Gunn mentioned that their pocket universes are going to play a part in the Superman story. That is something he already introduced in Peacemaker season 1, because Peacemaker's dad, his secret lab is in I forget how they say, the quantum folded space. It's like in a pocket universe.
Wow.
So it's bigger. It's like the TARDIS. It's bigger inside than the out.
I will say pocket universes are very DC.
What if the fortress, I know we see it emerging from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
What if that's visually what it looks like? What if once it's down in the ground, what if it's not in the ground? What if it's in a pocket universe? The reason why I like this idea is because we know from the trailer, it looks like Lex and his cronies invade the fortress and do something. They destroy or injure one of the robots, as we see him in the trailer. What if, because I hate the idea, because we already had this in other movies, that Lex figures out where the fortress is and then he just knows where it is, and it's done. If Superman can't do anything to keep it from it except destroy it, as was what originally happened to Superman 2.
Yes.
What if in this one, because it's in a pocket universe, he's able to re-encrypt where, because Lex is able to figure out where it is at one time, but then Superman does something. It's like, well, you fooled me this one time, Lex, but you'll never find it again. That type of thing. Because I don't want this fortress to be violated.
The comics and of course Superman and Lois, they've moved. He's had multiple fortresses.
Yeah,
that is a later thing. Like, it was always just the Arctic, and then I don't remember who, but somewhere in the 2000s he had one in the Amazon rainforest, and in the Superman and Lois he had one in the middle of the Pacific Ocean or something. So that's a cool idea. And again, that could either be pocket universe or just I love how it's an out where it's like Kryptonian technology.
Yeah.
You can just pack up your fortress and put it somewhere else. Boom.
I just
Instant fortress.
The main reason I'm excited about that is not because of the TARDIS like aspect of it. It's just that I want the fortress to be safe from Lex going forward. It's like, let's not have him always be able to figure out how to get in there.
Well, I definitely think they need to either he forgets.
Or
maybe,
damn it.
Superman will kiss him.
He forgets.
Superman will kiss him. It'll be like, so Lex, you figured out where my fortress is. Yes, I did. Come here. Blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, what fortress?
Yeah. Be great if Lex knows that he has that power, so Superman could be like kind of threaten him, like, watch it, pal, or you know what's going to happen.
The other day I was thinking about the magic forgetting kiss, and then I was like, oh, it reminds me of Arrested Development where they had the drug called Forget Me Now. It was a great running gag. It's just like slipping it into his mouth and going, that's it, go to sleep, Michael. Forget all about it. Just that is a great idea. The pocket universes famously came into play post-crisis because of their when Byrne is like, Superman was not Superboy. He wasn't Superman in a costume until he was a grown man and did all this. And then DC was like, but what about the Legion of Superheroes? Because they knew Superboy. He was a member. They would take him to the 32nd century and hang out. And they're like, oh shit. They came with this whole idea of there was the Time Trapper, who is a Legion villain, classic one, had created a pocket universe that split off from the prime one that had a Superboy in it. Right. So every time they thought they were going back to the past, they were going to the past of the pocket universe.
Yeah.
So when the Legion meets grown up Superman in the real universe, he's like, I don't know who the hell you people are. And they're like, but we've been friends forever, man. And then he ends up meeting the Superboy from the pocket universe. There's a fight. It's a thing. But yeah, I love all that. It just means you can do whatever the hell you want. Multiverse, pocket universes, go to town, guys. You want to do some crazy crossovers where Jonah Hex shows up and hangs out with Batman in the present day? Do it. I just love that comics are just crazy go nuts. You can have whatever happens. As long as it's true to character. I don't care what you do. I love that shit. I'm sorry I cussed.
Is there anything, I know we've geeked out about this for a couple of years now, but there's anything that in the DC potentially could be in the DCU that hasn't been announced that you're really hoping? I know I said Captain Carrot and Firestorm in the past.
Yeah. And I could definitely see Firestorm before Captain Carrot. But at the same time, Captain Carrot could be like an awesome animated series, especially if I'm not saying you don't want to make it a strict, like, gritty it up, because that would be badass, but you could adultify it a little and it would be probably sardonically fun. I'm looking at an action figure I would love to see of a character from the DCU. I'd love to see, I'm always looking at an action figure, but he's up on the shelf. Adam Strange. Ooh. Adam Strange would be great, especially because the concept of the Man of Two Worlds is great, where he is an Earth archaeologist, but gets beamed to another planet where he becomes their like hero. And it's a very sci-fi Flash Gordon-y planet. And similar to Idiocracy, sort of, they are so peacified. They have ultra science, but they're not good fighters. And so this guy who's just an Earth tough dude is like, really? You guys can't defend yourself from, well, give me the rocket pack. I'll go do it. And then falls in love. But, just when things are getting good or in the middle of a battle, because they can't predict it, he gets beamed back to Earth and he's like, shit. And so I've always loved that idea of the randomness of his life and how painful that is on his relationship. And some writers have done that. Plus, I love the idea that somewhere in the DCU, I would not want them to update it. I would love it if the planet of Ran, which is where he goes, is literally like a retro sci-fi world with jetpacks and laser pistols and a helmet with a fin on it. Yeah. Because at that point, you could have the character himself commenting like, are you serious? It's like, am I in a movie or a video game? And they're like, no, man, this is just our planet. This is how we live. And he's like, all right, point me at the threat. I'll go take care of it. I love Adam Strange. So I would love to see Adam Strange,
that would be
the
wonderful.
Creeper, and not just because I wrote
I was about to mention
a million years ago. The Creeper is such a great, weird concept. And I do believe, just like MCU has shown us, You can take the most unlikely character, and as long as it's a good take that someone thought about and has written it well, they can all play. Maybe not the hugest audience. Maybe people are going, that is too weird. I can't handle it. Maybe Adam Strange would be too cheesy. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. You know, what would be, I just thought of this now. It would be great. It would be awesome is if we meet the Psycho Pirate in one of these scenes and he's babbling about the DCEU.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. That'd be, I'm the only one who remembers it.
Yeah.
And you see flashes of the Snyder movies.
Yeah. That'd be great.
I was there when it all went wrong. I'm crazy now. That's a really good idea. It would be, I think that we should let Gunn and Snyder remain friends. That would be such a a slap in the face.
They would both probably love that though.
Well, I did see another post where has he shown it to Snyder? I don't know, but there was a shot of them like buddying out.
Yeah.
And he's like going, and it may have been Snyder's birthday or something, but Gunn's like going, this guy, he gets it. And he's like going, love him and, total support.
Yeah.
They're not competitors. And
No.
all those Snyder bros out there trying to make them competitors.
Mm-hmm.
You had a Superman movie and a couple that you loved, everybody. Great. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't for me. What's coming up now might be the one that I enjoy that you don't. But it's all right, not a competition. There's plenty of Superman to go around.
Exactly.
Man of Steel has not been erased from the internet. You can watch it, and there's still physical media.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that note, PSAPs, please take care of yourselves as we enter the late spring, early summer. Also take care of yourselves because the nation's...
Yeah.
Enjoy your tariffs. Anyway. So we love you guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.